So I ended up going to Target and getting a new sheet, and I did that for 3 reasons. Number one, the old sheet that I was using was, it was just plain white and boring, and so I wanted to spruce it up a little bit with a bit of color. And then the second thing is that it wasn't like a king size sheet, and it wouldn't go all the way to both ends of the frame very well sometimes if I pull back further. And so I ended up getting a king size sheet so that I can pull back further and, it'll take up more space in the frame. And then also the old one wouldn't go all the way to the floor from the ceiling. This one goes all the way from the ceiling to the floor and then some. There's actually some left over just kind of spilling out on the floor. So that's really good too. And then the other reason is that I wanted to get a color that was maybe chroma keyable. So we'll actually find out if that works. It actually ended up being a little darker than I was expecting, and I think it is kind of making my face wash out because of how incredibly pasty white my face is compared to this. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Anyway, field reporter Sean went to Disneyland or something. Here's what happened. Roll the thing. Hey guys, Sean here. So for the last 3 months, I've been working a lot of overtime at work on a project, but that just came out last Friday, so that means that now we have reached a bit of a lull at work to the point where today they're like, all right, if you want to leave half day, you can. And so I was like, well, that's probably a good idea today because there is something that I need to take care of. You see, the other day I was looking at my bank account and I happened to notice that on November 1st, I was charged about $138 for iTunes purchases that I didn't make and are not on my iTunes account. So I went to Wells Fargo and I was like, hey, I didn't make these purchases. And they were like, okay, well, we're going to close your card and send you a new one. Well, that's just great. Now I got to go to all the places that have my debit card on record and use it for reoccurring payments. One of those is for my annual pass to Disneyland, which gets charged every month because I did it on kind of a payment plan where I put up a bunch up front and then a little bit every month. So here I am on a Friday afternoon. I don't really have a video for this week, and I need to go to Disneyland to change my debit card information. And it's Veterans Day, so this could be an interesting combination of events, because, wow, it's probably pretty busy. But there's only one thing that I actually want to ride there that I didn't get the chance to before, if you remember when I went and ended up having to go to Downtown Disney instead because they were closed for a private party. So let's go ahead and hopefully get that all taken care of. So, how busy is it? Well, I literally just parked in a spot in the parking garage, and it's not actually designated for parking. There aren't lines painted. I don't exactly know what this section of the parking garage is normally, but not parking. So this is getting more intriguing. To deal with my pass problem, I can either go to the ticket booth or guest relations, which is right inside the park. So let's... Not going to the ticket booth. I was wrong, I have to go to the box office, but there's the one thing that I wanted to do, so let's go ahead and do that. It's not as bad if I get closer to the camera, but I can't get this close to the camera. Maybe if I use different gels on the light, or there must be an adjustment. Wait, what? That was That was it? That was all that he had from Disneyland? Oh, no. I was expecting a lot more than that. Okay, I guess I'll have to come up with something. Alright, what did he talk about? Well, let's see. The first thing was the debit card thing. Yes, that has been a major pain. I've had to track down all the places that use my debit card number for reoccurring payments instead of my checking account number. Luckily, a majority of things that use reoccurring payments use my checking account number, so that I didn't have to change. But a few things here and there that use the debit card number, yeah, I had to track them down and figure out what they were and get them the new number. I'm still working on that, actually. Next thing was that it was Veterans Day, and yes, Disneyland is incredibly busy on Veterans Day, which I'm sure comes as no surprise to anybody. Luckily, one of the benefits of riding the Disneyland Railroad, which is the train that goes all the way around the outside of the park and stops at New Orleans Square, Toontown, and Tomorrowland, and then back at the front of Disneyland, is that you get to see into the park without actually going into it. So you can see how many people there are in lines all around the park. And let me tell you, it was a lot. You know it's a really busy day when there are a ton of people waiting in line for It's a Small World. It was probably like a 30-minute wait to get on It's a Small World, so once the train ride ended, got out of there. Another amazing thing about the Disneyland Railroad is that it goes like maybe 15 miles an hour, and the entire ride to go from the very front train station all the way around back to the very front train station is like 20 minutes. And a big portion of that is stopping at the 3 stations around the park so that people can get off and more people can get on. So if you would take out the stops, the entire ride around the park would be like 7 minutes. And so it's really crazy to think that you can get all the way around the park going like 15 miles an hour in about 7 minutes. It seems so much bigger when you're on the inside of it, but when you're just going around the outside, it seems really compact. Granted, this just goes around Disneyland and it doesn't also go around California Adventure, but it's just really surprising that it's that tightly fit. Another interesting thing I learned is that at that time anyway, they had 3 trains going on the track, so you never have to wait too long at any of the stops because there's 3 trains going. And now let's talk about the stop at New Orleans Square, which is where this video was taken. So that is the Disney Telegraph Station. It is typing out a message on a telegraph in Morse code. So as we were sitting there and people were getting on the train and I was just staring at that telegraph station and listening to the Morse code, I was like, this is Disneyland. There is no way that that telegraph isn't typing out like a real message. And so I pulled out my phone and I Googled Disney Telegraph Station and I found out that yes, of course, it is playing a very specific thing in Morse code. And that it... Buddy's fascinated with the new sheet. And the message that it's playing is the most famous part of Walt Disney's dedication speech that he gave on the opening day of Disneyland. If you've ever watched a documentary about Disneyland or you've gone into the Hall of Presidents at Disneyland and there's the video that's playing that's hosted by Steve Martin that talks all about the history of Disneyland, they show this section of the speech. It's probably one of the most famous speeches that Walt Disney ever gave. And the section of the speech that I'm talking about is this one. To all who come to Disneyland, welcome. Here age relives fond memories of the past, and here youth may savor the challenge and promise of the future. And here's another interesting little fact about it. Amateur radio operator George Eldritch helped to restore the message in 1997. After taping the message, Eldritch discovered that it had been cut short. The telegram was improperly edited when Imagineers transferred the message from a continuously looping tape to a digital recording. Thanks to Eldridge, the recording now plays the correct message. So yeah, when they transferred it to digital, they accidentally cut the end off. So what else happened on this visit? Well, when leaving, walked through downtown Disney, gave in to temptation, went into Sprinkles Cupcakes, Ended up buying 4 Sprinkles cupcakes. I don't know how they legally call them cupcakes when they're the size of muffins, but whatever. And then went into the Lego store and ended up getting something I've been meaning to get for a while, and that is this. This is a little jar container full of Pick-a-Bricks. So what are Pick-a-Bricks? Well, in the back of Lego stores, they have this giant wall full of these little bins that are just full of individual Lego pieces, and you can grab one of these tubs for $9, or they have a bigger one for like 16 or something like that. And then just whatever you put in there, that's it. You fill it up, and then that's $9 or 16 or whichever the price is. And I have a few projects in mind that I've been meaning to get special pieces for. So that's what this is, and that will be a video or something down the line. We'll see what I end up doing when I actually use these to make the things that I got them to make. And that's it. That was my latest trip to Disneyland. I believe I need to go 2 more times in order to have doubled my money's worth. So what exactly does that mean? Well, if you were to take all the times that I've gone in the last 11 months, and you calculate how much a ticket would have cost on those days, because depending on the day and like what's going on, tickets might cost more that day or less that day. So, you know, calculate all that, and then parking, because that's included with my annual pass. So calculate all that. So if you take that number and you subtract the price of the annual pass, it's actually double. This number is double the price of the annual pass. So it's been a reasonably sound investment. Buddy, that's your tail. That's your tail. Why are you trying to catch it? Okay, something about this sheet is making Buddy attack his own tail. That's weird. Also, I've gotten what, like 6 videos out of going to Disneyland? Although you can barely count this one. I will of course be renewing it. I did get it last year in December, but they were doing a special where you would get 13 months instead of just 12. So I will have to renew it in January, not in December. But anyway, that's going to do it for me this week. Hopefully this added enough to the video to make it worthwhile, since it was only like 3 minutes with all the stuff that field reporter Sean and actually shot at Disneyland. And as always, if you liked this video, go ahead and hit the like button, and if you'd like to see more of the crazy crap that goes on around here, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. And if you'd like to help support the crazy crap that goes on around here, go ahead and hit up my Patreon. And with that, have a good however long it is until you watch my next video.